Hi witches, it's Lorelai. I am coming back to you today. I'm gonna start a new video series. I don't know how long it will go. I don't know how many videos it will have in it. I'm just gonna do it kind of as I feel the need to. I'm gonna call this series Belief Bricks because I feel like as we walk on our spiritual path, we build our beliefs like we build a house or a building out of bricks. We come up with a belief and we go, yeah, okay, I really like this belief, and then we stack something else on top of it that works with it. And we go, yeah, I really like that. And we check kind of to see like how structurally sound is this? Like, does it work for me? Does it not work for me? Type of thing. I actually had a time in my spiritual journey, probably about eight or 9 years ago, when I was first looking into this path, and I was reading a lot about the beginnings of Christianity. I'm talking like Jesus movement days and stuff. One night I was reading this book and looking through some of their research and everything, and I'm talking, if you are familiar with the tarot card, the Tower, my entire building of belief bricks just came falling down. For some reason, something at the bottom, something in that cornerstone of what I believed and why I was Christian, just disappeared. It crumbled. And the rest of that tower just came crumbling down with it. And the rest is history. So I'm calling this series Belief Bricks because as I'm walking the spiritual path, I'm building up a new building. I'm building up a new tower. Hopefully this one doesn't fall down. We'll see. So I've had a couple of these videos already. I didn't really call them Belief Bricks because I hadn't really come up with this idea yet, but whatever. So this is going to be episode 1. I'm talking a lot about reality and belief and how belief shapes our reality and how that shapes our spirituality. Let me just get into it because I'm not sure how to explain it. My dad and I work at the same agency, and on Fridays we tend to go to lunch, and we tend to have these sometimes we talk about nothing, sometimes we talk about work, but sometimes we talk about philosophy. And he's been watching this psychology YouTube professor lately. I don't know his name. I tried to look him up, but I couldn't remember who it was, and there's quite a few who talk on the same kind of subject, and I don't know which one it is, and I don't want to say the wrong guy. So, anyway, he's watching this YouTube. He's a real professor. He works at a real, like, brick and mortar school, college, university, something. But he publishes a lot of his lectures on YouTube and talks on YouTube, and when he gives talks at other places, a lot of those are on YouTube, that kind of thing. So anyway, he's a professor of psychology, but he also talks about spirituality, he talks about Christianity and the Bible. So one of the things we talked about is how our reality tends to line up with our belief system and vice versa. And that belief tends to shape our reality and the other way around, more so than our knowledge. I mean, this is why for so long, this is why Galileo, when he came out and said, well, the earth is round, that's why they put him in jail, because they were like, no, it's not, it's flat. It's been flat for years. And he's like, it's always been round, When people when our beliefs are challenged, when we have these very strongly held beliefs and they are severely challenged in a way that we're not ready for, there's something that happens. It's called the backfire effect. Basically, we stick to our already held beliefs, and we, after being confronted with this evidence that we're wrong, we find every reason that we're not, and we actually are more convinced that we're right after being shown why we're wrong. So that's the backfire effect. There's also something called confirmation bias. So basically, if you believe one thing and you read an article arguing against whatever you believe or whatever, you're going to read into that article with the bias of your already held belief, and you're not going to give the other side a chance to actually make their argument. You're already going in trying to figure out all of the things you can pick apart to prove them wrong. So it's one of those things. It's very hard for us to change our beliefs if we're not willing to do so. If we have strongly held beliefs that we're not willing to change, we're not going to change them. It doesn't matter how many times people try to change what we have to say, or try to change what we believe. If we're not willing to change, if we're not willing to give them a chance, it's not going to happen. So anyway, we then moved on to, it kind of comes back to this, so it's not really a tangent. It does come into play. But we talked about prayer, and my dad kind of paraphrased the YouTube professor saying, in the Christian faith, prayer is not supposed to be used to change God's mind. You don't ask him to change your circumstances. You don't ask him to rain fiery brimstone down on your ex. Well, you're not supposed to. Like, he's not going to do that. That's not how the Christian God is supposed to work. He doesn't just go and change his mind. Instead, as a Christian, you're supposed to accept that God created the world in a certain way with certain laws and rules, aka science. So all those people who are like, I'm Christian, so I don't believe in science, that's bullshit, because God created science according to Christianity. Whatever. Anyway, and if we accept those rules and laws and live within those parameters, then life will be easier for us. And our lives will be easier. So then the idea of prayer comes into play if we accept that we should live within the rules and guidelines that God created when he created the world. Prayer is then reserved for those times when life gets hard anyway, as it does. I mean, we don't live perfect lives, we know that. And the point is to ask for the strength to weather the storm, not to ask God to take away the storm. So we're not supposed to say, I can't deal with this, take this away. We're supposed to say, I'm having trouble dealing with this, help me. It's gonna happen, but I need help. Anytime my dad and I have these types of conversations, I try and take away from the conversation something that I can apply to my belief system and my life. And I don't consider myself Christian anymore, but I still feel like I could apply this to my own spirituality. I was looking at, okay, so if I operate under the belief that Mother Earth knows what the hell she's doing, and that I am this tiny part of a massive, infinite universe, that I'm one with the universe, a wave in a vast ocean of energy, then surrendering to that flow should, in theory, make my life easier. So of course, then we have to talk about trickster gods and trickster energy. Things get mixed up sometimes. And actually one of my patron gods, one of my patron deities is a trickster god. So yeah, it happens sometimes. So when life throws us curveballs, this then is like the perfect opportunity for magic, right? This is when you go, okay, this is my opportunity to use my energy and my oneness with the universe to make a change, to make a difference, right? So if I'm part of infinite universal energy, I shouldn't need to ask a god or a deity to do this work for me. I should be able to do it myself. So I'm also looking at this going, because for the longest time I struggled with, okay, I'm so used to the way that Christianity views deity. So if that's not the way that I view deity anymore, then how do I view deity? How do I interact with a higher power? And what does that mean to me? And I'm still kind of struggling through that, but I feel like I've made a little bit of a breakthrough here. Instead of structuring my magic to make a change in my surroundings, I feel like it actually makes more sense if I take in this idea that the earth and my surroundings are structured a certain way for a reason, and they follow these certain rules and all this other stuff, then I should be structuring my magic to empower me, to strengthen me to weather the storm, to become closer to my highest self, rather than trying to fight the storm, rather than trying to change the storm, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So if all of this works out and is true, and if all of this makes sense to you, then in this way, my patron deities become guides and mentors on my spiritual path, rather than like a father figure, like in the Christian faith. And it's funny because in the Christian faith, God is a father figure. He's also a teacher, a rabbi, but more so, I kind of felt like there was that father energy there. And I feel like now, and I haven't done the video on this yet, but I was going to talk about my, I've actually chosen to work with two deities. I'm working with Frigg, who I also believe is the same as Freya, so they're interchangeable for me, and Hermes. And I know I'm crossing pantheons here, but it's me, whatever. So I can see Frigg and Hermes being more like guides and mentors rather than a mother figure or a father figure, especially since Hermes isn't really a father figure to begin with. Hermes is a trickster god, more of like that playful brother, cousin type of thing. Definitely not a father figure. No. I could see Frigg being a mother figure. Frigg is definitely, she has that mothering feel, especially with the Balder mythology going with that. The All-Mother, yeah, she definitely has that mother energy. But that doesn't necessarily mean she has to be my goddess mother, if that makes sense. She can be more of a mentor for how I can be a good mother to my son, rather than a mother to me. I really hope this makes sense. I feel like I'm kind of confusing myself, so I hope I'm not confusing my viewers. Anyway, if you have made it this far through the video, thank you so much. This has been Belief Bricks with Lorelei, episode 1. We'll see how the next ones go. Awesome, and blessed be.